Well, we knew changes were coming at Disneyland and at Walt Disney World, and today is another example of one of those changes that we didn't expect, but sure enough, it's here.
You know, I feel like these changes keep happening so incredibly fast. It just felt like the other day we were talking about a major change at Disney. But this change is different. Disney's been known to change annual pass types from time to time. It's not super frequent, but it does happen. But I can't remember anyway them ever canceling all annual passes to create all new ones.
For nearly 4 decades, our annual pass program has been an important part of connecting with some of our most valued guests, says Disney. We are incredibly honored and grateful for that legacy and the memories and magical moments you have helped us create over the years. It is because you've played such an important part in the history of Disneyland Resort that I personally wanted to share this news with you. That's not from me, that's from Ken Potrock, the Disneyland president. In the next several days, we will begin the process of issuing appropriate refunds for eligible Disneyland Resort annual passports and sunsetting the current annual passport program due to continued uncertainty of the pandemic and limitations and expected restrictions around the reopening of our theme parks. There's more details about when and how much and the discounts and all of that stuff. You can find that information in the link in the description of this video. But that's pretty big news coming from Disneyland.
If you're not affected by this, so if you're just a standard ticket holder, you had no interest in buying an annual pass, it doesn't mean you won't be affected long term. There will no doubt, absolutely no doubt in my mind, be other changes to this one in the future. So, with the annual passes now, I think next could be just standard everyday tickets. We don't know, but I think it's safe to say we'll find out soon.
Maybe you like to go to Disneyland and experience some of those attractions with a day ticket or just a few days. You don't go frequently enough to have the annual pass, but let's face it, there are a lot of people in California who have those annual passes who are saddened by this news.
Let's be honest, as big of a change that this is, it's not super surprising. Just think about all the things that have had to adjust and adapt since 2020. We're just going to call it the year of 2020. Since 2020, so many things have had to make modifications, and Disneyland's annual pass system is just part of that.
I know this is sad, but don't forget, this is just a change that has to happen now. It doesn't mean it's forever. It doesn't mean that the future is not bright at Disneyland. I personally believe that it is. But right now, they've got to change things around so that they can be ready for the reopening when it does happen.
Now, it's not an all is lost moment, not at all. This is the M&M store that they will be opening soon. They've made consistent progress since before 2020 to make this happen. So I have no doubt that we'll still see things new at Disney. It's just changes.
I believe that the future is bright. I really do. And when I walk around Disney Springs or any of the Disney parks and I think about some of the changes that have had to be made, right, over the years, and we think about that, there are times in Disney's history where they've had to make drastic changes because of something in the company, whether it was an economy issue or something else. There have been drastic changes in the past. And in the end, in my opinion, things turned out super magical. Yes, there are things that we miss. I can think of a dozen of them right now. However, it still turns out magical in the end. Now, while we're talking about this today, I was thinking about what Disney might change to Disneyland's annual pass system. Let's just say annual pass. We don't know what it will be called, likely something else, but I have no doubt that maybe several years down the way, we will see annual passes in some way, shape, or form return to Disney. For some time, we've seen Disney adjust annual passes, whether it's a pricing update, that happens pretty frequently, or it's actually a tiering difference where they kind of move silver and then they've got the weekday select and maybe Epcot after 4 p.m., some very special passes you can get in Florida at Walt Disney World. But in Disneyland, they have a couple options, not quite as many as Walt Disney World.
I have no doubt in my mind that annual passes will return one day. They will at Disneyland. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. We just don't know what it'll look like. Different tiers, different groupings, different names of the annual passes. And I hope one day we'll also see that annual passport return too, so you can go from Walt Disney World to Disneyland.
I think Disneyland is likely going to take similar style to what Disney World has and adjust it for the local park, because that's the biggest difference. You got to think about the difference here. Disneyland is a local park. A lot of us like to travel to it, no doubt about it. However, it's local for those who are in the area. And when you think about that, you have to think about blackout dates, you have to think about the holidays, you have to think about the different tiers that are affected by this. At Walt Disney World, there are fewer locals in the area, which makes the annual passes easier to think about. But if I think about it for a moment, at Disneyland, let's pretend for a moment Christmas week. In the past, we've had a couple of passes that have been available Christmas week. There is a chance, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, Christmas week, Disneyland in the future, no annual passes will be available. That's just my opinion and a hypothesis, but don't forget these things do change. So as Disney sees those numbers change in terms of attendance, they will change the blackout dates and the pricing of annual passes. But for now, there are no annual passes. Another big question on my mind is, what is Disneyland going to do when it does reopen? Because we've been thinking about this for a little while. It's been a while since Disneyland has been open. Many of us have been thinking about it, wishing that it would open, but it's not. What will it look like when it does?
You know, I was talking to a friend of mine who saw Disney go through a very, the recession. And she saw it, and she was talking about how when she saw it, she saw some things go away. Some things that felt less magical in that time. And for several years, she felt it. She felt the effects, and she saw it with many of us. And when this happened, you see Disney make these changes. You're like, oh, why? Oh my gosh, I'm losing the magic. But then, years later, they recover. They create things that are even more magical. Now, not saying that everything comes back. Of course not. No, not everything comes back. It doesn't. However, Disney knows what makes it magical for us. They know us. They do. And I believe in my heart that no matter what, they're going to be able to continue bringing magic for us in the future. That's what I believe. Things change. Things are difficult sometimes, but I have faith.
A big question that I've been thinking about recently is, what is Disneyland going to do when it does eventually reopen? I think, personally, we're going to see a park pass reservation system similar to Walt Disney World. The problem here is that there are going to be so many people who want to go to Disneyland California Adventure, they're going to have to limit it in some way or another. The way I see it, there are two options. Option A, they can just open it up and then, first come, first serve. Hopefully you get there right at the moment that it opens and there's no technical issues, but I don't think that's super likely. I think it's more likely is that we'll see the kind of a phased reopening where maybe, depending on the different policies that come out of California, we'll see maybe a certain zone in the area are allowed to visit Disneyland. Maybe within 10 miles or 20 miles can visit, that's kind of far, 10 miles, 5 miles can visit Disneyland, right? That's my thought right now. Of course, there's no way for me to know for sure, but if you think about the number of people in the Los Angeles area who want to visit Disneyland, it's something that I'm sure they're thinking about. Now, you know me, I'm all about optimism, seeing the positive side. It's going to get better. It will get better. I'm still behind that 100%. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this will lead to an entirely new version of Annual Pass? And if so, what will it look like? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being a part of the magic with me today. Until next time, have a magical day.